Welcome back, everyone, to another installment of The Herbal Enchantress. Good to see you again. My name is Chan, and today I'm going to expand a bit more on the topic of this summer for me, which is on stress. I've really had a focal point of the nervous system, and I've actually created a great herbal blend today that is really geared towards stress. Having enduring stress myself, and I know many people do in today's society, I was looking to really build some sort of herbal formula that would help to cope with times of stress or stressors that might occur. So you see some really good examples here, juggling school, juggling work. So stress is certainly predominant in today's society. Now, as a bit of a refresher on how it kind of biologically works, remember the two processes involved in stress include the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis, as well as the sympathetic nervous system. There's a kind of translationary period between these two different kind of reactions to stress, biological reactions to stress, and ultimately they both release cortisol and epinephrine, which really are these hormones or kind of neurohormones or neurotransmitters that give us that biological, or impart to us that biological stress response, which really is in the end balanced out by inhibitory feedback and by the parasympathetic nervous system, which remember is that rest and digest nervous system in parallel or juxtaposition to the sympathetic nervous system. So that's the biological basis of stress, but there's even history with how we have dealt with stress as a society, and I kind of want to relate this and look at a comparison between the past and how we deal with dealing with stress in the present. Really, back in kind of olden times per se, there was a huge emphasis on religion, right? If, let's say, you were lapsed in your religious practices, that might be a reason that you developed certain pathophysiologies. Or another good example of that would be something dealing with, even dirtiness. They believed that a move away from cleanliness kind of puts you to be susceptible to things like stress, paranoia, all of those nice little terms that we are rarely used today, but were very prevalent back in the day. In today's society, while we have a lot of scientific developments that have given us really this conventional medicine we have today, there are still some overlaps with olden times that may not necessarily always be in our best interest. So for instance, our doctors today really have become very focused on treating symptoms and have kind of taken out all of the other dimensions of us as human beings, and our emotional states, our social states, our spiritual states, and everything that's contributing to that stress would be an example. And they really look in that perspective as treating symptoms or treating certain things that they tangibly can evaluate as a way to kind of tackle that particular illness or disease. So that does kind of overlap with the present, but we have made a lot of advancements. And so us as herbalists, we certainly are back to really bring that focus back to the whole person. Now for my product, I really was looking to aim this to reduce stress, increase adaptability, as it is related to that emotional well-being and health that we have. And ultimately, this product is intended to uplift the spirits and to increase that holistic adaptability. So ultimately doing that uplifting to kind of relieve some of that stress, really with that even relieving symptoms, potential preventative types of measures for symptoms of depression would be another example of how this is used. And so that does bring me to what herbal actions I really had to think about as I was formulating this product. Well, some of those primary actions include our nervines as well as our adaptogens. And you may be familiar with these terms, but remember, nervines are herbs that have an effect on our nervous system, whether that's in a tonic supporting way, whether that's relaxing or more sedative in nature, or whether that's in stimulation, right, to increase that acuity or awareness. We also have adaptogens, and those that help us to kind of normalize our energies in our body, to return us to a state of homeostasis. And those would really comprise the two primary focal points of this product, which will make it very, very effective with stress. But I also have a secondary, which is a complementary to these primary herbal actions, and that includes our cardiotonics, which is oh so incredibly important when we really think about our emotional state of being, right? There is this saying of, a lot of what we do is coming from the heart, or emotions stemming from the heart. And we really think of the heart as the seat of our emotional bodies. And so targeting the heart is going to be helpful because the cardiovascular system has such an overlap with the nervous system and how we experience stress. Now, with that focus on stress, while there are a lot of herbs that potentially could help with that, I've actually selected from a sundry here of 5 particular herbs that are going to be very, very important for tackling that stress. And that includes the ones you see listed here for our focal point: ashwagandha, linden, St. John's wort, vervain, as well as hawthorn. And that's what's included in my extract. And in this case, I've made and created a tincture. So with these herbs, and you can see some of their scientific names: withania, verbena, crataegus, hypericum, tilia. I've actually listed here some of the recommended alcohol by volume, ABV, or proof for tincturing these herbs. And this is per research that was performed and through really renowned herbalists, which you can always look in my references section to know more about that. But these were the recommended percentages, and so with that in mind, I did take that and formulate my product with a 50% ABV or 100 proof, since that is the overlap for all of these herbs. And typically when we like to prepare, when in doubt, we can always use a 1:5 ratio, meaning herb 1:5 alcohol ratio within our preparations. And you can see that recommendation there by Balick. Now, I did use a scientific method to really build out or create my product. But remember, you can use a folk method too. So don't let that kind of deter you from really trying your own hand at some of these herbs as well, and really getting a feel and that experience and playing around with those herbs and all that they have to offer. Now I have a little bit of a materia medica here on ashwagandha, on all of the herbs. But good things to point out: I am actually using ashwagandha due to its adaptogenic properties, antidepressant, nervine, and anti-inflammatory, which is always supportive in the body. And there really are some good constituents within this herb. Now, recommended dosage you can see listed, and some safety, which I did take into account in my particular formula. With vervain, I'm using this herb because it is not only bitter, which is generally very, very good for the body, but I'm really calling on it for that nervine and relaxant types of herbal actions that it has, or therapeutic actions. But you can see some of the others listed here. And you can see there are some really, really good phytochemicals that come into play that assist it with its anxiolytic and sedative properties, as listed in a recent study. With hawthorn, so while those ones kind of dealt with our ashwagandha and vervain, dealt with my primary actions of adaptogen and nervine, I did want to look at a cardiotonic, and remember, that's going to be my secondary. It is my secondary in this formula. So hawthorn is a phenomenal herb for the heart and cardiovascular system. When any herbalist thinks of what do we use for the heart? Well, our first thought is always hawthorn. And so we can see it is a cardiac or cardiotonic. It is hypertensive, hypotensive, anti-arrhythmic, antiseptic. There's a lot that it can do. And this has a rich history in the past of always being used for particular heart purposes. So it will help with that emotional body within my blend. Now remember, you always want to be safe with hawthorn because we don't want to use it in conjunction with other heart medications because it is so effective and a very effective herb that we have kind of in our herbal arsenal. We also have St. John's wort, so that Hypericum perforatum, and this one is being used for its antidepressant effects. So many people are familiar with St. John's wort because of that. But I would also point out while we're here, that it has phenomenal properties as a vulnerary antiviral, which really are the ones, and antiseptic as well, which really the ones that are less commonly thought of, but St. John's is, in my book, a top 50 herb to have in your herbal pharmacy. So I'm going to use it today for that nervine and antidepressant properties. Next we have linden. And linden is a phenomenal herb for its nervine, relaxant properties, which is why I'm using it today. Now, one of the things that is less known about linden is that it does have a nice complement to the cardiovascular system due to its kind of antispasmodic, even hypotensive properties. And with that in mind, it will prove a nice complement to the hawthorn that I have within this blend. Now you can see in terms of the way that linden supports the nervous system, it is anti-inflammatory and it is anti-proliferative. It has those activities that it has been shown in a few different studies to possess. Now within my blend today, this is how I had prepared it and the parts used of each of these herbs, and you can see of that total. Now I'd recommend for safety, if you're pregnant or lactating, you probably want to avoid this particular blend. If you're on antidepressants, it might also be good to make sure you speak with your doctor beforehand. And we always want to make sure that we're keeping this away from children, as not all of these herbs are completely that we'd recommend for children. With everything that we do as herbalists, we want to be very transparent in what it is that we actually can do for our clients. And so really expressing that this is intended to be a complementary type of medicine. While you may have other ways that you are coping with that stress currently, this can help to alleviate some of that burden and to help you in the way that you deal with daily stress. So, I would like to introduce you to my blend called Enlightened Eos, and it is an uplifting herbal blend for our hearts and for our minds. Now, if you do decide to take this blend, I would recommend about 20 to 30 drops 3 times daily, and between meals might be helpful. You may also even want to disperse that a little bit in a beverage, like some water, and make sure you shake well before use. Remember, with this blend, a new dawn really is a new day. And I've had a ton of fun really starting to explore with these herbs, starting to get to know them a little better, and creating them in a way that they'll be effective for that daily stress. If you have any questions, do let me know. Feel free to type those into the comments. I thank you once again for watching, and I hope to see you soon.